Jesus, let's take that. Well, we know, for example, and there's much more to this. I mean, we could get into numerology. We won't. Not on this video. Too deep. We're just going to generally touch on this one. The connection between Dionysus and Jesus is really simple. A. Dionysus was the son of the chief of all gods, which was Zeus. Zeus was the chief of all gods because he proclaimed he was. Okay, in mythology, after basically he had kicked his father's butt, Kronos, he had proclaimed himself, the chief of all gods. It was never voted in. Think about this. In Greek mythology, Zeus was never voted in. It was not a democracy, even though, the Greeks love their democracy. The whole mythology was not a democracy. No. He proclaimed himself chief of all gods. In a way, kind of like how God did in the Bible, for he said, do not worship any other, and don't ask me to cite where it is in the Bible. I'm not going to do this, and this is well known. At least in the St. James version of the Bible. He says, do not worship any other gods before me, for I am a vain and jealous God. Or I think it's in the St. James. Maybe it's in another version. I'm sure some Christians will comment. But that does exist. Do not worship any other gods before me, for I am a vain and jealous God. Direct connection there. Because in Greek mythology, Zeus, once again, had proclaimed himself chief of all gods. Okay, and in Greek mythology, Zeus's son was Dionysus, the god of wine, the god of pain, the god of everlasting life. You might think, that doesn't connect with Jesus. Wrong. I mean, it parallels Jesus, because think about it, with the wine thing. On the table of the Last Supper, what was there by Jesus? A chalice of never-ending wine. He could drink all day long, it didn't matter. Okay, and some Christians might say, what? Yeah, look it up. I'm sorry. A chalice of never-ending wine. Okay, then the other thing is the pain and suffering part. Well, at least the people in the metaphysics usually know the story of Dionysus. That in a few instances he was ripped apart, and then he still lived. He lived on in various ways. He was born again, for example, in several instances, or born again however way you want to see it, divinely or physically, whatever. The point is that the symbology, he was born again. Okay. And with Jesus, he was not ripped to parts or into shreds, but look at how he died. I mean, I would say that's pretty painful. Or, and some Christians will bat at me. He didn't really die. Okay, whatever. However you want to see it. But the whole point is the pain. Okay, it's not like he could have just keeled over. Think about it. I mean, he could have had a stroke or whatever. No, that's not what happened. He died and or was transformed, or however you want to put it, through being nailed to the cross. Pretty painful. Probably bleeding to death, or being hanging there, starving himself, or being starved, whatever. You get it. It was about pain. Direct parallel to Dionysus. Okay, and then what the other thing was everlasting life. A big point, people. Jesus is the key to salvation, some Christians say. Well, that totally parallels Greek paganism, or even Greek mythology, because Dionysus was the god of everlasting life. Through him you will be saved. Totally parallels. Well, then some people will say, well, what about Satan? Because that is the point of this series. Well, Satan exists in all this in a way, paralleling, because, think about it, Zeus at one point in time fought with his brother. They had a huge battle, just like in the Bible between God and Satan. Okay, in the Bible, God kicks Satan out of heaven, or so the story goes. Kicks Satan out of heaven and has to exist in hell. Well, that totally parallels Greek mythology, which we will not bring up the dates. We will not have a war on dates. No, I am not for the whole warring thing. I'm just saying, these are the bare facts, people, bare facts, is that in Greek mythology, Zeus, the chief of all gods, kicks his brother out of Olympus, and then Hades, that's his brother, has to exist in the underworld. Direct correlation, I'm sorry, direct correlation. Is it a coincidence? That's the question. Is it a coincidence? Well, and I found, okay, no offense to Christians, but I have found a lot of Christians say this and that, this and that, this and that, oh, it's all a coincidence. I ask you now, is this a coincidence? The correlation, and not just Christians, everybody. The correlation, the direct parallel between the story in Greek mythology and the Bible. Does it not correlate? I mean, does it not parallel totally perfectly? Come on. And then the whole thing about, well, you can pick out, some people might say, well, the angels, though. I'm sorry, that parallels too in Greek mythology and in Italian mythology, which, from the Stregheria. Italian, you could say Italian witchcraft, whatever, but that exists from the Etruscan belief. Anyhow, it all has guardian angels. And they say in Stregheria that even the guardian angels that existed in Etruscan and Stregheria totally parallels the Bible. So, I mean, where is the difference? That's what I want to ask people. Where is the difference? The difference lies in what you believe. That's what makes you either a Christian or a pagan. It's not differences, because the differences do not wholly exist. Think about it. Because everything's paralleling each other. The difference exists in what you believe. I'm going to take another example on this, okay? The difference between, let's just say you're metaphysical. Are you a Wiccan or are you a Asatru? Well, that difference lies not really in the mythology, because you get a lot of parallels between what Wicca was birthed from, if you want to believe that, and Asatru. You get a lot of parallels. The difference really lies in how you believe. Do you believe fighting, for example? Are you going to fight to the death? Are you going to, is everything a fight? Is death a fight? If the answer is yes, you might be Asatru. If the answer is no, I believe in, love, light, and to trust. And if I can't trust or love everybody, I sure as hell want to try. If you believe that way, you might be Wiccan. If it's something else, it might be something else altogether. So that's really what it is. It's your beliefs. It's like how you want to believe. That's what makes you who you are. And that's all.